Here is your latest African news. Burkina Faso. Sankara assassination suspects ordered to pay $1.3 million in damages. The military court in Ouagadougou has sentenced former Burkina Faso President Blaise Compaoré and 9 other defendants to pay more than $1.3 million in damages to the beneficiaries of former head of state Thomas Sankara and his companions assassinated in 1987. The sum is ordered to be jointly paid by Blaise Compaoré, the former commander of his guard Hyacinthe Kafando, and the former head of the army in 1987 Gilbert Diendere, all sentenced to life imprisonment in early April for their involvement in the assassination, as well as 7 other defendants sentenced to between 3 and 20 years in prison. According to the court decision, the Burkinabe government will have to compensate the beneficiaries if the convicted persons are unable to pay their amounts. The military court, however, rejected a request for the return of Thomas Sankara's property to his family. Thomas Sankara, who came to power in a coup in 1983, was killed along with 12 of his companions by a commando during a meeting at the headquarters of the National Council of the Revolution (CNR) in Ouagadougou. He was 37 years old. The death of Thomas Sankara, who wanted to decolonize mentalities, was a taboo subject during Mr. Compaoré's 27 years in power. He was forced out by a popular uprising in 2014. He has since been living in exile in Côte d'Ivoire and has been sentenced in absentia, as has Hyacinthe Kafando, who has been on the run since 2016. Malawi. Malawi Parliament moves to abolish death penalty. Malawi's parliament has started public inquiries in the capital Lilongwe on a proposal to abolish the death penalty following last month's adoption of a report recommending the move. It comes after Parliament mandated its Legal Affairs Committee to solicit views from the general public on the subject before potentially changing any laws. Malawi court appealed to have abolished the death sentence in April last year after Supreme Court judge heard the petition of a convicted murderer and ruled that the death penalty negates the right to life, which is otherwise provided for under the Malawi's constitution. The judge then ordered the resentencing of all cases where the death penalty was handed down. However, 4 months later, the Supreme Court issued a statement saying the judge had expressed his personal opinion and the death penalty remained applicable. There have been growing calls for Malawi to abolish the death penalty, especially because the country is a signatory to the Declaration of Universal Human Rights, in which the punishment is not allowed. Kenya. Kenya finds colonial-era bomb used to colonize them in farm. A colonial-era unexploded mortar bomb has been discovered in a farm at a village in central Kenya. Kenyan police said concerned villagers miled around the object, some arguing that it was a missile while others claimed that it was part of the harvest. Officers from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations (DCI), who responded immediately after being informed, identified the object as a mortar bomb. The dangerous military ordnance was left behind by the British forces at the height of the Mau Mau uprising in 1953, when sections of Mount Kenya and Aberdare Forest suffered aerial bombardment to flush out Mau Mau fighters. When British settlers began pouring into Kenya in 1902, they intended to set up an agricultural colony whose surplus could help pay the cost of other imperial projects in East Africa. To do this, the British needed land and labor, which led them into a series of policy decisions that culminated in a grotesque genocide that the history books have largely overlooked. Thousands of people were killed during the Mau Mau revolt against British rule in Kenya and was one of British Army's bloodiest post-war conflicts. The uprising was a great significant step towards the independence of their country. West Africa. E.U seeks cocoa uprising alliance with West African countries. European legislators, under the auspices of the Responsible Business Conduct Working Group of the European Parliament, have written to the European Commission to commence talks with Ivory Coast and Ghana to address pure cocoa pricing. Earlier in the year, Ghana and Ivory Coast, which accounts for 2/3 of the world's cocoa, called on the EU to join them in creating an economic pact to boost living wages for cocoa farmers. Low prices paid for cocoa are a main driver of deforestation and child labor in the sector. The deal would entail an agreement between all parties on what to do to resolve the low price of cocoa and manage cocoa supply to prevent market shocks, it said. The EU is a leading destination for Ivorian cocoa, accounting for about 67% of the country's exports. Both countries in 2019 imposed a living income premium on all cocoa purchases in order to raise farmers' wages. Kenya. Content moderator in Kenya sues Meta over working conditions. A former moderator working for Facebook owner Meta Platforms Inc. has filed a lawsuit alleging that poor working conditions for contracted content moderators violate the Kenyan constitution. The petition, also filed against Meta's local outsourcing company Sama, alleges that workers moderating Facebook posts in Kenya have been subjected to unreasonable working conditions, including irregular pay, inadequate mental health support, union busting, and violations of their privacy and dignity. The lawsuit, filed by one person on behalf of a group, seeks financial compensation, an order that outsourced moderators have the same healthcare and pay scale as Meta employees, that unionization rights be protected, and an independent human rights audit of the office. The lawsuit's specific requests for action are more granular and wide-ranging than those sought in previous cases and could reverberate beyond Kenya. Globally, thousands of moderators review social media posts that could depict violence, nudity, racism, or other offensive content. Many work for third-party contractors rather than tech companies. Meta has already faced scrutiny over content moderators' working conditions. Last year, a California judge approved an $85 million settlement between Facebook and more than 10,000 content moderators who had accused the company of failing to protect them from psychological injuries resulting from their exposure to graphic and violent imagery. Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone launches bid for UN Security Council seat. Sierra Leone has launched a bid for a seat in the non-permanent category of the United Nations Security Council, UNSC. President Julius Maada Bio officially launched the campaign at a ceremony at State House. The Council is one of 6 organs of the UN, and it has the primary responsibility of maintaining international peace and security. Sierra Leone served in the influential position once from 1970 to 1971 since it joined the UN in 1961. Sierra Leone's plan to bid for a seat on UNSC had been rumored for some time. Reports suggested that the government had been mobilizing support from friendly countries, particularly on the continent. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said Sierra Leone is the sole candidate for Africa and has been endorsed by the African Union and West African Bloc (ECOWAS). The government said the bid isn't about Sierra Leone alone, noting that it's also part of a larger goal of attaining Africa's long-held desire for reforms in the UNSCR. Sierra Leone has been leading the Africa Union's Committee of 10 (C10) to negotiate the continent's position on the reforms for about a decade. The other members are Kenya, Equatorial Guinea, the Republic of the Congo, Namibia, Zambia, Libya, Algeria, Senegal, and Uganda. Nigeria. Former Nigerian leader rejects presidential nomination. Former President Goodluck Jonathan has rejected a presidential nomination form bought for him by a group from northern Nigeria. Jonathan's media advisor Ikechukwu Eze said in a statement that the group had bought the form and that the former president did not authorize the purchase and considered the move by the group an insult. The form was for the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) that defeated Jonathan, who governed Nigeria on the platform of the People's Democratic Party before losing his re-election bid to Muhammadu Buhari in 2015. Nigeria's main political parties are expected to hold their primaries later this month to meet the Electoral Commission's deadline of 3rd June for the submission of their candidates for the February 2023 election. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, follow, share, like our video. It's the best way of supporting us. And remember, Africa is watching.